So, checking in on what may be now dubbed the New Axis, which sounds a bit better than the New Axis of Evil, which has somewhat of a comic book feel. Its new name is really a play on the World War II Axis powers, which we all know were evil, as well as the self proclaimed Axis of Resistance coined by Iran. And this new Axis group right now looks like a conglomerate of Russia, Iran, Syria, North Korea, and possibly China, which is currently maintaining a distance from the two wars, largely because they integrate so much with the West that they probably can't afford to take sides in this situation. However, the CCP obviously has made it clear that they're very much politically or on the world stage in spirit in line with the Russia North Korea line of thinking. There are other smaller players throughout the Middle East as well, but we are starting to see the lines of possible alliance becoming more defined on who is falling on what side here. Obviously, you have Russia and Iran and North Korea, a major part of the alliance, and that comes from South Korea raising concerns recently about the apparent escalation in North Korea's military support to Russia with regard to Ukraine. There's a significant increase in the transfer of weapons and ammunition as reported by the South Korean government, and this is something that is going to play in the future of geopolitics. According to these sources, there is a substantial flow of military supplies going from North Korea to Russia, with reports of over 1 million artillery rounds having been delivered. There have apparently been 10 separate rail shipments of weapons from North Korea to Russia since just August of 2023. These shipments have cumulatively accounted for those 1 million rounds that I just talked about, and is an indication of the scale of North Korea's military aid to Russia. And side note, it's kind of comical that Russia would need military aid from what is essentially a pauper nation in North Korea. They're just very militarized. But the one thing they do have is military equipment. In addition to these materials, it's reported that North Korea has dispatched military advisors to assist Russian forces in the use of these munitions, signifying a deeper level of military cooperation. South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff have assessed that the logistical scale of the operation is that of about 2,000 military containers worth of equipment from North Korea to Vladivostok in Russia, which is in the far east of Russia, since these deliveries started. Currently, it's assessed that really only artillery munition is being sent because that is something Russia has significantly depleted in their arsenal. And I talked about how their arsenal dropped so much that, in fact, Ukraine was firing more artillery than Russia. And Russia relies heavily on their artillery batteries. But this influx of North Korean artillery shells is going to play in the probably escalating Russia's ability to continue to fire more than Ukraine going into the future. There was also an uptick of North Korean maritime trade with Russia around the time that Kim Jong-un visited Russia back in September, which coincides with the military equipment transfers. South Korean officials are closely monitoring these developments, particularly as it indicates that Russia may offer North Korea technological aid in several strategic military domains in a quid pro quo, and there are concerns that Russia could help further advance North Korea's nuclear programs. Additionally, South Korea has indicated that North Korea is near launching a surveillance satellite, one of the first that would be for the country after 2 unsuccessful attempts. This suggests that Russia is providing military technological capabilities in satellite launching, the satellite launching arena. On top of that, kind of tying all of these together, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered officials to support Palestinians and could be considering selling weapons to militant groups in the Middle East, specifically Hamas. North Korea has sold anti-tank rocket launchers to Hamas in the past, and there's a good possibility that Pyongyang will attempt to export more weapons amid the war in Gaza. Hamas has appeared to have been using various North Korean weapons on the battlefield, but Pyongyang has dismissed the allegations as false. Now, coming back into Russia, the Wagner Group, who still exists despite the attempted coup and Yevgeny Prigozhin being killed, They are reportedly considering bolstering Hezbollah's military capabilities by providing them with advanced air defense systems. Now, the supply would come through Lebanese militant groups, which are supported by Wagner Group and backed by Iran, and would include Pantsir S-1 air defense missile systems. This is a further strategic deepening of the alliance that Russia and Iran have, and now you see kind of the triangle forming between Russia, North Korea, Iran, etc. Iran has supplied Russia with unmanned aerial vehicles in its fight against Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia has reportedly equipped Iran with advanced surveillance software and cyber weaponry for hacking. Additionally, Russia has made commitments to provide Iran with Su-35 fighter aircraft, a move that would significantly improve the capabilities of Iran's Air Force. Now, pivoting to Iran and its proxy, specifically Hezbollah, the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, talked about the October 7th attack on Israel in a speech he just finished up earlier this morning, saying that there was no battle more justified from a religious and moral perspective than the battle with these Zionists. However, interestingly, though he did not discount the possibility of a wider war, he said that Hezbollah is already doing enough and will not escalate. There is the potential that Hezbollah could be drawn in and other Iranian-backed militias across the region in general, but again, he said they're already doing enough and likely are not going to increase their presence, increase their fighting against Israel. Now, Hezbollah is backed by Iran and is actually quite a bit more powerful and more sophisticated than Hamas, with tens of thousands of trained fighters, an arsenal of 100,000 plus rockets, and a stock of precision-guided missiles that can strike sensitive targets deep inside of Israel as well as U.S. assets. Military analysts believe the group may also have other military capabilities that it has yet to unveil. However, despite the skirmishes at the border between Hezbollah and Israel, both groups, both Israel and Hezbollah, have been pretty restrained in an effort to avoid total war that will likely bring fighters in from Iraq and Syria on the side of Hezbollah, as well as what is essentially the 500 million pound gorilla in the room there, also known as two carrier strike groups from the U.S. into this fray. So you can kind of see, as I said, the definitions of the axis, or what they're calling the new axis, between Russia, Iran, North Korea, as well as Syria and some other minor players, as well as China kind of just sitting outside of the sidelines watching what happens, versus what we're seeing in the collective West and the U.S.-led order kind of as the quote-unquote new allied powers, I suppose.